Hi everybody, T3 here. So, living in the Pacific Northwest, one thing I've learned that of all the places I've built fires and/or primitive fire making apparatus, the winter in the Pacific Northwest is one of the most challenging environments to get a fire going, even if you have a big lighter. And if you paid attention to the earlier part of this webinar, always carry a 6-pack of big lighters in your backpack that you take into the woods with you. Even though I know how to make fire 10 different ways by essentially rubbing sticks together, if I'm by myself, I have to expend time, energy, and effort gathering, crafting it into a working tool, and then I have fire. But, you know, got this, can light many fires with this. That doesn't mean you shouldn't learn other techniques, but it's important. So the first hack to always getting a fire going in the Pacific Northwest or any wet conditions is store-bought. So either dryer lint, and the other key ingredient is Vaseline. I choose to use cotton balls because dryer lint, unless you're washing and drying all natural stuff, sometimes the synthetic fibers, they'll more melt than burn. So by picking up a 1,000 pack of cotton balls, you could literally have enough of these to last a really long time. So if you've seen an old-timey Indiana Jones movie where they're moving through a cave and they got the torch with like the flaming end, those old-timey torches were essentially a version of what I'm about to show you here. So let's see if I can adjust the camera angle real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 tests, right? Any scientific experiments requires a test subject and a control. So let's check this out. So in my right hand, I've got the one that I coated in Vaseline. Left hand is plain old cotton ball. All right, we're all set up for our test here. So this is the Vaseline coated one. This is the plain old cotton ball. And I'm gonna light the plain cotton ball first. Now, as you can see, or maybe not, it is burning, but look at how quick that burns out. Now, if it's really wet out, humid, it might not even light, but check this out. So you add a little Vaseline to it, a little accelerant, and it will burn, 2 to 3 times as long, 2 to 3 times the size of height of flames. So what I do is I will pre-make 10 or 20 of these, cotton balls, put them in a Ziploc bag or some sort of other little watertight container, and keep them in my pack. That way I know I can always get a fire going. Buddy T3 here from Future Nature and T3 Photography. I wanted to wrap up this fire tips video for a secret. Remember how earlier I said anytime a specific skill is hard in a certain area, oftentimes there's something that we can gather or collect off the landscape that will mitigate those issues and in fact make the process a whole lot easier. So I showed you all the cotton ball and Vaseline trick. It's good to just pack like 20, 30 of those in a Ziploc bag in the bottom of your hiking pack, and those could very well save your life one day. Now I wanted to show you secret to making fire in any and all weather conditions. Check this out. So I'm sure there's been times y'all have been out in the woods, you know, whether here in the Pacific Northwest or another forest that's, you know, primarily evergreens, and you notice these stumps like this one I'm standing behind now that have, you know, they've mostly rotted away, but there is like spikes sticking up out of the ground. I like to call them the Game of Thrones stumps because they look kind of like the Iron Throne. So here is our secret. So remember that evergreen trees contain sap, and sap is an accelerant. It's what they make things like turpentine out of and stuff like that. So when an evergreen tree dies, basically all that sap, you know, gravity causes it to settle in the stump, and that stuff is pungent. Insects don't like it. It takes a long time to rot. And the really awesome thing about these stumps is they, like, every stump is its own ecosystem. You know, there could be wrens living in it, you know, any Pacific giant salamanders. So when I collect this stuff, I try not to collect any more than I possibly need. So all I'm gonna do is take my Booth, my Caleb Booth Special Dream Axe, and I'm just gonna chop this one piece off here. Now I can tell you from experience that this one piece will be enough to light many, many fires. All right, let's check it out. Check, check. All right. So now that we got this piece off, you know, from the Game of Thrones stumps, as I called it, I took my knife out and I started to carve into a little bit. And right away you'll know you're good if you start smelling what smells like pine saw. You know, really that like piney smell. So carefully, I'm just going to take a couple shavings off this. Now keep in mind that this is really wet, right? This is like damp. But watch this. I'm going to take a couple of these together. I'm going to grab my trusty lighter. Because of that accelerant in the sap, you know, in the wood, impregnated in the wood, ow. Let's safely put that out. Check, 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 check. So, pretty awesome, huh? You can go into a hardware store and buy that stuff. It's called fatwood or fat lighter, and pay $10 for a bag of sticks like this. But yeah, I can't reiterate how important it is not to denude the landscape of these stumps just to make your fire starting easier. They are literally homes to so many different critters. So, you know, as with anything we gather, we only take what we need, and we always think about those that are going to come after us. And I'm not talking just about humans, I'm also talking about the more than human world as well, because they are just as important a being as we are. Hope you learned something. Until next time, peace and love. Get outside even on these slushy days. There's magic to be found out there. Peace.